Hi guys, good afternoon. Welcome back to Vignan AS Academy. So today, this will be a video on how to read current affairs, and this will be from Vignan AS Academy. So normally, if you have seen the pattern of paper one of your GS prelims, then 6 to 12 questions will be directly or indirectly related to your current issues, or some call it as current affairs as well. Okay, so but UPSC in the notification clearly mentions that it will be with respect to current issues of national, okay, and international importance. So always it is important to remember the keywords mentioned by UPSC. You should be aware of issues in your own country as well as internationally as well. Okay. Now I'll straight away move on to the current issues from the newspaper 1st September 2020. So this is a video from a demo video from Vignan IAS regarding how we are dealing with current issues from newspapers of that particular day. Okay. Now coming back to today's news, that is 1st September 2020. Now if you see, you should read current issues. Now first of all, if you see or if you read any newspaper, it will be divided into three areas. First thing is pure facts, okay, then issues, or we can also call it as happenings in India and around the world, then opinions. Okay, for UPSC you need to stress more on this aspect, that is issues happening in the country and opinions on particular issues. Why? Because this is the area of testing in your mains as well as your personality test. Issues would be tested in your prelims. And coming to these facts, UPSC won't ask silly facts. And what kind of facts you can expect from a pattern of UPSC standard, I'll be telling you in further lecture. Okay. So as you have various components in GS, for example, you have geography, then you have history and culture part, then you have polity and international relations, then you have economy and environment, then you also have SNT, and speaking history, current issues, then organizations of national and international importance, and some miscellaneous. Okay, so whenever you are reading any newspaper or any matter of subsistence, then you should always look out for these many aspects in reading newspaper. So in this lecture, I'll try to present you with a holistic view how to cover the entire newspaper and what exactly is the meaning of current affairs for UPSC. Now, coming to first point, map based questions. If you take the previous year questions from the last 5 to 10 years, you should have been known by this time that every year 2 to 3 questions are perfectly map based. And these map based questions, I feel they are not kind of spoon feeding stuff for you. Why? Because I feel it funny when people will even cover this map based thing in their lectures. Map based is for the students to remember, it is for the students work to do. Why? Because unless and until you yourself open a particular map, that may be Indian map or world map, you won't be able to locate all the rivers. It's not like normal material or normal stuff where if we just give the pictures and you by heart it. It's not that way. Okay. So whenever you are reading any newspaper, your current affairs notes should consist of these many aspects. There should be separate current affairs notes for your geography and IR purpose, for polity, then for economy and environment, then history and culture, then miscellaneous. At Vignan IAS, we do this stuff. We give the current issues covering all these multiple dimensions. Now coming to particular current affairs on 1st September 2020, if you observe, these are the various map-based questions you can pick out from the entire newspaper of around 14 pages. If you have read the newspaper today, you should have known that again there is Chinese People's Liberation Army aggression near Pangong Tso Lake. Okay, So first you should immediately go to map, or you should see a video on the location of this lake. Okay, what are its boundaries, north, south, east, west? Why India have interest in this lake? So that's what you should observe for map pointing. In the same article, in the main paper itself, they have mentioned about one more pass, Rekhin Mountain Pass, and this is near Rezanla. It is as well in the same Ladakh region. Okay, so if UPSC, suppose if the same question is from current affairs, normal GK, what you read for banking exams, then you can expect the question to be this way, like what is the elevation of this Everest? What is the elevation of Everest? Or what is the elevation of any mountain? That's for banking or GK exams. If you go for various other exams, then they will be purely stressing on facts. But if you observe the previous questions of UPSC, they will be giving statements in the form of two questions. For example, if they have to frame a question on Galwan Valley, somewhere in statements they will make that Galwan Valley lies to west of Ladakh. Simple question, just to confuse you. But you should remember that Galwan Valley will be in eastern Ladakh. So this is the edge you get by referring to map soon after you see the paper. Whenever you read a day's newspaper, immediately go back to this. Now if you see UPSC used to ask various questions on passes. So they can ask like, suppose Shivkila, or the question can be like, which of the following passes act as boundary between India and China? So likewise, they will be giving various passes. For example, Shivkila, then they can give us Nathula, then they can give us Bomdila, like this. Okay, so this Rezenla, it is nowhere mentioned in your NCERTs. It is not mentioned in NCERTs. This kind of stuff you will get only from newspapers. So it's not like you just read what is happening near this, how many soldiers have fought, why they have fought and all. That's not what is required for UPSC. You should require these kind of stuff. For example, Rekhin Mountain Pass is mentioned. That is near Rezanla. Immediately you have to go for map pointing and make a note like Rekhin Mountain Pass and Rezanla is related to contentious boundaries between India and China. Okay. Then line of actual control. Immediately go and see what is the shape of this line of actual control. See, there will be minor differences. For example, there is this line of control between India and Pakistan. Okay. And line of actual control is between India and China. So immediately whenever you see line of actual control, you should immediately Google it, learn what is line of actual control and see in map or see a video on how the shape of line of actual control looks. Okay. As I've told you, Galwan Valley in eastern Ladakh. Now, apart from map pointing questions, you should always think about the terms, new terms given in newspaper, okay, and which you never read in your basic books. Why? Because on terminologies only, the two terminology in news. Why? Because UPSC blatantly gives some type of questions. Recently, you have seen modus vivendi in news. What it is related to? Option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4. Okay, so whenever you look for map based questions, immediately also you should look for this type of term based questions. For example, in today's newspaper, they told about modus vivendi. What is this modus vivendi? In the similar article, when the press asked Ministry of External Affairs, who is the Ministry of External Affairs? Jai Shankar. So when they asked about to comment on last night's issue at standoff between Indian and Chinese troops near Pongong So Lake, then the External Affairs Minister said that we should go for modus vivendi between the two biggest Asian powers, that is between India and China. So what exactly is this word modus vivendi? Indirectly it is part of your IR, international relations. It is nothing but agreement to coexist. These kind of points you should pick out from newspapers for UPSC. It's not like you just read number of facts for UPSC. Okay, so this is the way of picking out map based locations from papers. Now coming to economy, we have seen geography. So geography is done for today. The two in current affairs perspective. Then coming to economy, all over the page, majorly today there was this news item like GDP contracts to 23.9% in what? In first quarter. So what exactly is the first quarter? It is April to June. Why? Because 1st March to 31st April is a financial year. So this financial year would have been started from 1st April 2020 to June 2020. This we see as first quarter. Quarter in the sense 3 months. Okay. Now GDP falls 23%. How you should see this news item in UPSC perspective? See, it's not like GDP. See, normally you see in pay, if you are a fresher, you would get confused by this percentage. Why? Because normally you'll be seeing like GDP is around 6%, then GDP is around 7%, GDP is around 8% and all. Okay, but what the thing is that this is comparison of first quarter statistics of GDP of this financial year with last financial year statistics of first quarter. Okay, so when you compare with the absolute figures, the first quarter GDP of this financial year contracted by 23.9% compared to last year's first quarter GDP. So for UPSC, you don't have to remember the figures of this financial year and figures of last financial year. No, you just have to see the flow, see the trend. Now, people are saying this contraction of 23.9% is the highest since 1870. Now again, whenever you read about something, immediately you should go back to background. Okay, is it the first time that it is happening in India, or did it happen in India anytime? Before to that, in this news item only, we'll pick out minimum basic MCQs that can be asked by UPSC. For example, coming to GDP, as I've told you, the way of learning current affairs should be smart. It's not like again I have to dump you with what exactly is meant by GDP, what are the components under it, who measures it, what are the components under it, how it is measured and all. Why? Because always try to separate your current issues preparation with your core subjects. Don't ever mingle it. Why? Because when you mingle your current issues with your core subject, then you will get hell lot of material which will be hard to revise. So instead just separate. Be smart in separating your current issues perfectly. So if you don't know about gross domestic product, immediately go back to Google and Google it. What exactly is gross domestic product? Now again, who releases this gross domestic product? This is what normally you neglect. This is very much important for UPSC, and it is asked previously for at least 5 to 10 times in UPSC. So this gross domestic product is estimated by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Okay. Now, as I've told you, they are comparing the first quarter GDP to the last year's quarter, right? So they told like in the same quarter in the last financial year, the GDP was expanded by 5.2%, where in this financial year, it contracted by 23.9%. So first, we have seen the background. Then, who gives that? Then, and this is very much important approach, guys. Whenever you read current affairs, follow this 5WH approach. What is this 5WH approach? Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Okay, so you should follow this 5WH approach whenever you read any news item. So who releases GDP? Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. What it is telling? It is telling that GDP fell to 23.9%. It contracted. When? In the first quarter of this financial year. Okay. Now where? In which sectors? Okay. So now before going to GDP exactly where it declined, you should know about what are the various sectors under GDP. Okay, so in GDP, suppose whenever you calculate GDP, there will be these many areas. There will be agriculture, forestry and fishing. There will be mining and quarrying, manufacturing, electricity, gas, water supply and other services, constructions, trade, hotels, transportations, financial and real estate, public administration. Now, this table is given in newspaper. So for UPSC, you don't have to remember these exact figures, like how much percentage and all. What you have to remember is in which sector the GDP increased and in which sector the GDP decreased. Now, if you see, these statistics are last year's and this is this year financial year. Okay. If you see agriculture, it was growth was only 3%, but this time agriculture growth rate was 3.4%. Okay. So only GDP in agriculture sector increased to some extent. Now it is not only agriculture, it consists of forest and fishing as well. Rest, if you observe all other sectors, they went into negative growth rate. So because of this negative growth rate of all other sectors, totally the GDP was contracted by around minus 22.8%. Okay. So for the answer out of 5WH, for the answer where these are the areas. Okay. So construction witnessing a sharp drop of 50.3%, manufacturing drop of 13.3%, but only the agriculture, forestry and fishing witnessed a growth of 3.4%. So now why this has been decreased? For next W part, why? Okay. If you have seen, because of this COVID-19, what happened? Because of COVID-19, we went for lockdown of around, perfect lockdown of 45 days to 70 days. And during lockdown, what happened? First of all, production decreased or halted on one side. Then on the other side, people were in self-isolation. People in the sense I am speaking about majority of guys. And if you see, around 80% of our economy is informal economy, it's not formal economy. So because of lockdown, people didn't find jobs, no money. When there is no money, then what happened? No expenditure, less consumption. When consumption is less, what will happen? Production drops. When production drops, what will happen? Investment decreases. When investment decreases, what will happen? Growth decreases. This is the exact cycle what happened because of COVID-19. On one hand, production dropped. On the other hand, there wasn't any money in the hands of people. Normally, how you will calculate GDP? It's like you can take it as economy can calculate as consumption expenditure plus investment plus government expenditure plus exports minus imports. Now coming to consumption expenditure, as I have told you, when there is no jobs, no money, then consumption expenditure decreased. When production decreased, demand decreased, then there was no investment. Then government expenditure also decreased. Why? Because most of the government expenditure was concentrated on supply side only. That is to make sure that essential commodities reach people, but there wasn't enough expenditure for raising demand. Since the most of government expenditure only supply side, there wasn't no raising demand, so consumption growth decreased again. Then coming to exports minus imports, leave about imports. Exports halted. Why? Because when production halted, exports halted. So why it reduced this much? How it reduced this much? The answer is because of reduction in consumption expenditure, reduction in investment, reduction in government expenditure, plus a reduction in this term. Okay. So now we are done with 5WH. So for reading any current issues, when you follow this approach, most of your important MCQs formulated by UPSC can be answered. Now we will see the tricky statements which UPSC generally gives. Now there you can expect a statement like, this is the first time that GDP contracted. This is absolutely false. Why? Because this is not the first time. Last contraction of the economy occurred in 1979 to 80 when GDP shrank 5.2%. But for the worst effect because of pandemic, now it decreased 23.9%. Okay. Now coming to one more important term mentioned in the news item. See, suppose you don't know what exactly meant by recession. Immediately go back to Google and learn only the definition of recession. Don't dig deep into it whenever you are reading current issues. Never ever dig deep into it. Why? Because you will study that as part of your core subject. But whenever you read current issues, learn only about the basic definition if you don't know that. Okay. So coming to recession, when recession occurs, when for two consecutive quarters, when for two consecutive quarters GDP decreases. Okay. So for two consecutive quarters, when GDP decreases, that we call it as recession. So already for the first quarter, we are seeing that GDP is contracted by 23.6%. Now, it is already predicted that because of this COVID-19 lockdown, even for the second quarter, that is July, August, September also, even for this quarter also, GDP is going to contract. So when GDP is contracted for two consecutive quarters, we call it as what? We call it as recession. So it's already indicated that recession is going to happen in India and around the world as well. Why? Because even next quarter our GDP will be contracted. To what extent, that will be revealed only after the official report comes from National Statistics Office. So now to make the question furthermore tricky, UPSC will give in a statement that recession, so the GDP contraction in 2020 led to recession in India, for second time. Okay, so this will be the statement given to confuse you. You have to be careful in picking up these kind of statements from newspapers. India till now, it is told that in news items, India till now has faced this recession for 4 times. First time it was in 1957 to 58 because of drought, then in 1965 to 66 again because of drought, then in 1977 to 72 to 73 because of oil crisis, then 1979 to 80 because of oil crisis drought. Okay, so this is not the first time that Indian economy is going into recession. Okay, now as I've told you, out of all the sectors, agriculture sector was the only one which recorded a modest growth of 3.4% compared to last year. Again, these kind of facts, this is a factual statement for UPSC which helps you to filter out the options. All other sectors like we spoke about, construction, everything, that percentage fell out. So remembering that percentage is not important. As I've told you in the previous lecture, see how the total demand of an economy is measured. It is consumption expenditure plus investment, private investment plus government expenditure plus net demand from exports minus imports. So if you compare the statistics, coming to first statistic, expenditure by individual consumers, expenditure went down to 27%. Why? Because of this lockdown, because of low jobs, because of no money, people became more conscious in spending. So there will be adequate amount of production when there is only proper spending from people. Spending contracted, then investment contracted in a big way. Expenditure by government, as I've told you, majority was concentrated in only supply side, but not demand side. So it was only less. Now this was 165. Luckily our exports, okay, were good. So finally, totally if you compare the exact figures, previous financial year it was 35,35,267 crores. Coming to this financial year, it is only 26,89,550 crores. So the GDP fell by minus 23.9%. You don't have to remember these percentages or figures. You have to just remember what exactly forms part of engines of demand. That is, you should remember this equation which you read in your class 12th NCERT. Go back to our core economic classes, you'll find it there. Okay. So these are the important points which you should extract from newspaper, and these forms current affairs for UPSC. It's not like you just remember figures. Now, as I've told you, we are done with geography. Then economy, first major part of today's news regarding GDP contraction we have covered. Next, one more important debated one recently, need for GST reforms. Why? Because when implementing GST in the year 2017, because of implementation of GST, various taxes got subsumed. For example, excise duty, sales tax, these kind of taxes got subsumed under GST. So even states lost majority of powers for taxation. And under GST Act, it was mentioned that for first 5 years, whatever revenue is short gone or whatever revenue is decreased because of implementation of GST, that will be compensated. So GST will be compensated from center. This was told. Okay. But in view of COVID-19, what happened? Force major clause in commercial contract. This is very much important. These are the kind of stuff which UPSC picks up. What exactly is force major clause? In any contract, if because of unforeseen emergencies or events, okay, suppose there is party A and there is party B. If party is liable to pay some money to party B, using this force major clause in contract, party A will say that because of this unforeseen emergency, I will not pay you the money what I have to pay, or otherwise I won't stick to pre-agreed terms. Now, as you know, because of COVID-19, okay, GDP received a huge shock, and under legal obligation. Why? Because for first years or 5 years up to 2022, GST has to be compensated for states. Now, using this force major clause in commercial contract, central government is telling that we won't be able to pay you that entire money now. Instead, we are offering you two options. First thing, 90,000 crores of money as of now we will give to you, but you have to take permission from RBI, and using that you can modify your FRBM Act, and to entire 29 states we can give you only 90,000, that too for interest rate. If you are not agreeing to this, then normally the obligation for center is around 2.35 lakh crore of GST which center should pay. This entire thing will be borrowed and you have to pay high interest rate. Decide yourself. This is what center have told. So there is this debate started. First of all, because of implementation of GST, taxation powers were taken away from states. Okay. Instead of compensating them, you are using this clause and you are telling that we won't be able to pay you money. Why? Because COVID-19 was beyond our control and we don't have money to pay. So you can easily get off this contract by using this clause. Okay. Now, what is the problem here? Suppose if GST is not paid to states, then states have to go for other source of income, right? Unlike center, states' capacity of borrowing or states' capacity of access to fund is very limited. Why? Why? Because states can't issue sovereign bonds. This is very much important. This is given in a newspaper, and this is the exact statement what UPSC picks out. It's not going to ask you how much of GST is pending by center to states and all. It's not going to ask that. Okay. So first of all, states can't issue sovereign bonds. Then center can decide low rates of borrowing, whereas states don't have the power to do that. Then coming to physical stimulus and macroeconomic stability, these are to be taken care by center. At least center have various these many options. So the finance ministers of states, they started to demand that the resources of us is very difficult, and there is borrowing clause for all, borrowing laws for each of the state. We have to stick to FRBM Act, and that too getting funds for us in this circumstance is very difficult. So instead, what they are demanding, they are telling that you owe us 2.35 lakh crores of GST. So it's your responsibility, you borrow from somebody else and give us that money. Later what you can do, there is something known as GST compensation cess. Okay, so in every budget there will be the cess imposed, right? So there will be GST compensation cess imposed, and money collected from that will be deposited into the cess GST compensation cess account, and from there the money will be given to states for compensation of GST. So do that. This is what is being demanded by state governments. This debate is going on. Okay. Now, see, there has to be a solution in this. Why? Because we are hardly just 3 years. In 2017, GST got implemented. This is 2020. So within just 3 years of implementation, these many issues have come. So there has to be reforms. People are demanding for reforms of GST. And when the editorial, this is like opinion based wala, as I've told you previously. So in the editorial, it was discussed like there is something known as revenue neutral rate. For example, as of now, for GST India, we have 4 slabs, right? 5%, then 10%, 15%, 28%, something like that. Okay. So instead of these many slabs, in Australia, what they are doing is that they are implementing single slab. Similar to other countries, why can't we go for single slab? Now, because of going for these multiple slabs, see, majority of goods falls under this 5% slabs up, let us suppose. Out of which again there will be exemption of goods. Then coming to 25% slab, people won't be interested to invest. Why? Because their goods will attract the 25%. So instead of these many, why can't you go for single rate, that is known as revenue neutral rate? If coming to the exact formula of that, revenue neutral rate is nothing but ratio of what? Excise duty plus value added plus sales tax, so on, by total taxable GDP. Okay. So by going for this ratio, you can arrive at one rate, that is known as revenue neutral rate, and this will be the single GST slab, as it is being done in the countries like Australia. So these are the kind of current issues which UPSC picks, like whether states can issue sovereign bonds or not, or who can do fiscal stimulus or macroeconomic stability, or exactly what is meant by revenue neutral rate, the definition of it. For example, ratio of all excise plus value added tax in the numerator divided by total taxable gross domestic product in the denominator. These kind of stuff is what UPSC concentrates on. Normally what you neglect in newspaper, but this is what you should think about. So if you see these 2 articles from economy, you should know you are good at 5 to 6 important points. So after you read your core economy, that is from the book, you should complement your basic reading with these important points from everyday current affairs. For this day, like for 1st September, we have got 5 to 6. Similarly, you would have gotten some 30 to 40 current affairs for 1 week. So that current affairs which have got high probability of being asked in the exam, you maintain a separate note of it. So this note prepared by you, it is very important document than any PDF what you read. And if you revise this again and again, trust me, out of suppose 6 to 10 questions are asked from current affairs, at least 4 to 5 will be from your notes itself. Okay, this is a smart way of picking up current affairs from newspapers. Now in the same article, they spoke about open market operations. They even give the definitions. Open market operations involves simultaneous purchase and sale of government securities. See, you're not preparing for any kind of government exam, like you should see whether it is government or RBI is going to purchase for 10,000 crores or 20,000 crores and all. No. Learning about what exactly is meant by open market operations is important for UPSC. Similarly, fiscal deficit. Why? Because out of 20 questions asked in economy, 7 to 8 will be just definition based. For example, open market operations. This you will get by reading previous year questions. Read at least 5 to 10 previous year questions so that you will know the pattern of asking by UPSC. Then coming to physical deficit is nothing but budget deficit plus borrowings. This you can read from your basics. Okay. So these are the 7-8 points which I just picked up from today's newspaper in the economy. Like this, you should segregate while reading newspapers. Okay. Coming to persons in news. UPSC stopped asking these type of questions long time back. But even if suppose you want to take a note of it, just suppose recently today morning what happened? Ex-President of India, Honorable President, ex-President of India, Pranab Mukherjee passed away. So there were series of articles ran on him like how he was, what he did and all. But out of which you should know these basic stuff. That is, he was the 13th President of India, elected in 2012, then retired in 2017. Or otherwise, his term got over in 2017. So this is important. Not like UPSC will be asking directly like Pranab Mukherjee is which president in India or whether he is 11th or 13th. No, it will help you. These kind of statements will help you to filter out options. So we are done with economy. So geography I've done, economy I've done. Now we'll see environment. Okay, coming to environment, there is this important index discussed about in today's newspaper, Environmental Performance Index. This Environmental Performance Index is developed by two US universities, Yale University and Columbia University, in collaboration with World Economic Forum and European Commission. So this was previous bid at least for 3 times. 3 times in last 15 years. And this is directly from today's newspaper. Why this was in news? Why? Because recently India was ranked, okay, at the spot of 168, whereas last year in 2018 it was ranked 177, then 118 in 2006, then 123 in 2010, 155 in 2014. Suddenly from 2004 to 2018 it dropped to 177, and this article discussed about dilution of environmental laws in the country. So for prelims you should know this is very much important. Why? Because every year 2 questions will be on indices. Now again, suppose in your environment note what you put for current affairs, if you note this, that's enough. So 2 marks will be in your pocket. Now coming to picking of important statements again. In the same article it was discussed that forest was a state subject, but by 42nd Amendment Act in 1976, forest which was in state subject was transferred to concurrent list. So these are the important points. This is how you should pick out your current affairs from newspapers. Now coming to regional aspects. Why? Because there is high chance of 1 or 2 questions every year. Suppose if you take the year of 2016, they asked about one project in Andhra Pradesh. Then in 2017, they asked about a project in Rajasthan. Then in 2018, about a project in Kerala and all. So regional news which attracts central government or union government, and which they suggest that even that should be implemented in remaining states. Any scheme of any state or any policy of any state is very important. For example, today in newspaper there was this Bhuseva pilot project in Andhra Pradesh. Okay, under Bhuseva what they are doing? They are geotagging of all land parcels that may be both public as well as private. So they are conducting a survey, and for each land there will be 11-digit number given. So because of this, what will happen? No illegal transactions on land, no illegal sales, then proper inclusion of farmers. So all these problems solved if there is land survey, and this Bhuseva pilot project is being started in Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so that project is all about geotagging of all land parcels, both public and private, where each land parcel will be given 11-digit number. This is very much, such kind of policies are also very much important. Now coming to one more aspect, art and culture. In art and culture, today there was this Kalachakra Stupa in news. Now anything you read from art and culture, instead of reading 700 pages book, If each day you dedicate one page to art and culture current affairs also, by the end of there it will be hardly 330 pages. If you remove Sundays, hardly there will be 300 pages of current affairs. So instead of reading some random book for art and culture current affairs, if you just note your own note, it's important. So coming to Kalachakra Stupa, in Buddhism, this stupa is a symbolism of and it is not connected to any events in Buddha's life. Normally, why stupas are erected? Okay, to symbolize events in Buddha's life. Instead of symbolism of Buddha's events lives, this Kalachakra Stupa is the symbolism of Kalachakra Tantra. And what is this Kalachakra Tantra? It is created to protect against negative energies. Okay. And this is the various points about it, like what Kalachakra teachings say. Then how about stupas? Normally stupas is like they both enlightened state of Buddha. As well as with respect to Kalachakra Tantra, it refers to external, internal, and alternative aspects. If it is external aspects, that will be with respect to cosmology, astronomy, and astrology. Internal aspects deals with individuals' inner energy systems, interrelationship between mind and body. Alternative aspect will be on deity practice on Kalachakra. So this is the importance of Kalachakra Stupa. That's it. You are done for the day. So all this entire picking up points hardly takes you 35 to 40 minutes max. In this way, every day in your own notes, if you prepare separate current, why I did this, because today if you have not yet read current affairs or any newspaper, pick out today newspaper and read the newspaper once and see whether you are picking the same points or not. Why? Because this is how a newspaper or anything should be read for current affairs perspective from UPSC, current issue perspective from UPSC. At Vignan IAS, we'll be doing this. Okay, we'll be giving you 2 pages of current affairs PDF every day, and if you read that 2 pages along with one newspaper, that is done. So coming to Vignan IAS, what we are doing here is that every day we will be giving you one newspaper. Apart from newspaper, we will be giving you 2 pages of current affairs PDF. And while reading newspaper, if you make your own notes this way, and if you cross check it with the current affairs PDF, then you are done. You don't have to read anything else for current affairs throughout your entire year of preparation. It's enough if you perfectly make notes every day with following 2 pages of PDF what we give, and that's it enough. If at all you are not regular with this, then you can follow monthly magazine of current affairs. Why? Because the rate of return on current affairs is very less nowadays. No matter how many magazines you read, out of 15 questions asked in current affairs, you will be able to answer only 6 to 7. Rest 7 will be complicated for everybody. But to make sure that 14 to 15 marks will be in your pocket, you have to follow this approach. And there is a new batch going to start on September 5th. You can contact us, visit our YouTube channel. We'll be there to help you out. Thank you.